has been stricken with a rare genetic disease called Angelman Syndrome. And we're here today to try and bring awareness so that we can find ways of basically ensuring that children in the future will be able to be treated and with genetic counseling, etc., and will have a cure for Angelman syndrome, which is very close at hand. Angelman syndrome is a condition that Na'ama Uzan, who's here, Na'ama Uzan is here with me, and Na'ama's mother and her brother Nadav's the mother of Nadav, who is Na'ama's brother, who's not here with us, are going to be speaking about Angelman syndrome. We also have David Uzan, who's here, the dad, and we also have grandparents of Na'ama and Nadav who are here. The boobies and the Zadis are here, and friends and family are here. And as I said, this syndrome is a rare disease, but it is very solvable because they've identified the gene. And then Dr. Weeber in a few minutes will talk about it. So they've identified this, I think it's number 15 gene, if I'm not, if I'm correct. Yes.
15 chromosome.
15 chromosome, right, 15 chromosome. So there is a cure at hand, but we need to get some more support, and we need to get some money to the researchers who can find a cure. And the amazing part of this story is the incredible passion and dedication and hard work of Nadav's little sister, Na'ama, who has raised over $50,000 through her lemonade stands. She's got a campaign going on everywhere, raising money for her brother and for other children that might be stricken with Angelman syndrome. And Na'ama, this incredible fundraiser, will be speaking in a few minutes. So we're talking about this syndrome, Angelman syndrome, which we're trying to get people to become aware of. And if there's more awareness, there's going to be more research dollars, and we're going to find a cure. And so the person that I think is best able to explain this rare disease is one of the world-leading experts in this area, is Dr. Edwin Weeber. He's a professor and director of neurobiological research. He's at the University of, yes? He's at the University of South Florida. He's on the phone, and he's in the Department of Molecular Pharmacology and Physiology at the lab in South Florida, in Tampa, Florida. So without further ado, we're going to have Dr. Edwin Weeber, who's so graciously given up his time to join us today by teleconference from Tampa, Florida. Dr. Weeber, could you please proceed?
First of all, thank you for inviting me for this. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to be associated with this really touching story. Yes, Angelman syndrome is considered to be a rare disorder, and this is an establishment of the National Institutes of Health on what is a rare disorder, something that affects less than 20,000 people of births in the United States or worldwide. But what makes Angelman syndrome very unique is that it's considered to be a monogenic disorder. So it's a single gene that's on chromosome 15. And as most of us have genetic mutations in our own DNA that don't really cause disorders, with Angelman syndrome, this is it's a problem with one of the genes that's inherited from the mom. So if that gene is disrupted in any way, whether it is has a deletion or a mutation or some kind of change in that gene, it results in Angelman syndrome. Now, what makes it unique in both of those ways, and what makes it a more of an exciting possibility for coming up with a treatment or a cure, is that since we know what that gene is and what that gene does, we can really target to try to either fix the remaining gene that's there, or come up with another strategy to overcome that deficiency. But unlike more complicated disorders that affect more numbers of people, say schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, Alzheimer's disease, that have many genes and those genes interact, we don't have that problem with Angelman syndrome. We know what we need to do. There's many different strategies out there to develop therapeutics. We have everything in place. We have a good model in an Angelman syndrome mouse model that we can test these things on before it goes into clinical trial. We know a lot about what the gene does and how it's regulated through a lot of work that's been done by geneticists. We also have been able to fix many of the symptoms, I think pretty much all of the symptoms in the Angelman syndrome mouse model in a number of different ways. And then the fixing of these symptoms have occurred in mice that have had Angelman syndrome their entire life. We can treat them and we can overcome those symptoms. So this does tell us that if the mouse model is a good model for human Angelman syndrome, and we can do a lot of work to fix those symptoms in an adult Angelman syndrome mouse, then we should be able to translate that into the clinic and try and get that from what we consider translational research from the laboratory bench to the bedside of these patients in a timely manner. What's needed, what's badly needed, is funding to do more research to try to understand these preclinical problems and have the money in place for those eventual clinical trials, which can cost into the millions of dollars.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I think we'll just ask you a simple question, and that is that with the clinical trials, and if we can get funding for these clinical trials, you think that we could really help solve this challenge of Angelman syndrome?
I think that it is very possible. From what we understand of the disorder, and from what we've seen in the animal model, and from what we know about what the gene does and the protein of that gene and how it affects the brain, we feel that there are therapeutics out there that would have a profound effect on these children, not only in their quality of life, but in all aspects of the disorder. And it is a devastating disorder. These children, many of them have an inability to speak, so they can't communicate well, at least verbally. They have developmental issues. They have issues even past the neurological issues that they have. But seizure is a major problem. So there's a lot of things that we can do to help these kids and really help the families of these kids and increase their quality of life. I think we're at that point where there's buy-in from biotechnical and big farm companies that want to look toward coming up with a treatment for Angelman syndrome. And like I said before, we have a clear idea of what we need to do, but a lot of this takes development of new drugs or taking drugs that already exist and modifying them so that they'll work in Angelman syndrome, and that all takes money. But yes, I think with the increase in the number of clinical trials that are occurring, that are being proposed, that are being prepared for, it's a clear indication that more and more therapeutic targets are being identified. There's drugs or different ways we can get to that point, and it's going to start translating into having more and more children enrolled in clinical trials.
Yes, and again, just to let people out there watching, that we're talking with a world expert in this area of dealing with Angelman syndrome is Dr. Edwin Weeber, talking to us from Tampa, Florida, University of South Florida. And Doctor, just to let you know what we're trying to do here, along with Na'ama's great fundraising, she's raised over $50,000, amazing fundraiser. We're also, today, we're going to introduce what we call a private members bill. I am a member of the provincial legislature in the province of Ontario, and we're introducing essentially a law that will, if passed, it will declare Angelman Syndrome Act Day. And so that's what we're doing here. After we leave here today, we are going to be doing that in the legislature. And in fact, the whole family and Na'ama is going to be meeting with the Premier of Ontario right after this press conference. So hopefully with what we're doing here today, we're bringing more attention to this syndrome, and we're going to, with that attention, hopefully we can raise more research dollars. So that's what we're here for, and help you and other great scientists in this work to help these children that are suffering from this debilitating neurological disorder.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your work. I do work in Angelman syndrome, but there are hundreds of other researchers out there and clinicians that are working toward a cure for Angelman syndrome, and every lemonade stand out there will help. It really will, and thank you so much for all your work and everything that the families have done.
Yes, and Doctor, the day we've chosen is February the 15th. Hopefully that will be the day that will be known as Angelman Syndrome Day, and it will help, as I said, in bringing this public awareness and doing our part to support your great research and research of other scientists. Doctor, now we're just going to move over to our second speaker, and the second speaker is Na'ama's mom and Nadav's mom. It's Na'ama Uzan, who's here also as the mom, but also for the Foundation of Angelman Syndrome Therapeutics in Canada. So, Ru, could you please go ahead?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you, Mike Colle, and your fantastic team for facilitating all of today's proceedings. It's definitely a team effort to get awareness out there, and we really appreciate your support in this. Angelman syndrome is a cause we've been thrown into. Our 7-year-old son was diagnosed at the age of 2.5. We had never heard of Angelman syndrome. Doctors around us hadn't heard of it. It's something that when we shared with people, they had never heard of it. It's a disorder that really causes difficulty with gross motor, complex communication needs, and difficult to control epilepsy. The good news is that Dr. Weeber and his team are so close to a cure, and Dr. Weeber has said in the past that a cure is not just possible, but it's probable in Nadav's lifetime, and there's nothing more motivating than hearing that, and that has really encouraged our family to step on his team and help him out and raise funding. Dr. Weeber also has recently signed 2 different industry-funded trials, which will bring us really much closer to a cure. While working alongside Na'ama, we've been privileged to have raised some awareness for AS. However, our goals are much greater than that. We hope to increase accurate early diagnosis of Angelman syndrome. Having Ontario recognize Angelman syndrome plays a key role in spreading awareness. By recognizing Ontario Angelman Day on February 15th, Ontario is joining the world in recognizing International Angelman Day. It is our hope that through this recognition and others, research and awareness on AS becomes an unstoppable force that perpetually builds the ultimate objective of reaching a cure.
Thank you so much, Ru. And I think what you said is so important. We are very close to the cure. And so one lemonade stand at a time, we'll get that cure. And so Dr. Weeber, now we are going to introduce the star of the press conference, this amazing woman. Really, she's a woman. She's an amazing, I don't know if they use the word mensch for women too, but she's going to be, maybe one day she's going to be here as the premier of this province. And in fact, after this press conference, we're going out to meet with Premier Wynne to introduce you all to the Premier. So with no further ado, this is this incredible young lady whose lemonade by lemonade stand, she's raised over $50,000. $50,000 to try and help find the cure, to try and help her big brother. Nadav, right? It's all about helping your big brother and all kinds of big brothers and little brothers. So I'll let you take over, Na'ama, and could you please go ahead. Good and loud.
Hi, it's Na'ama from the AS Lemonade Stand Initiative. Thank you so much, Mike Colle, for Ontario Angelman Day. It means a lot to me and my Angelman community. When I was 4.5, just saying, 4.5, I came up with this idea of a lemonade stand to help find a cure for my brother Nadav. And at my first stand, I raised $100 out of lemonade and popcorn. So now So many of my other friends, they all started making lots of stands, and I so far raised $50,000 for a cure. And send the money to FAST. FAST is an organization for Angelman Syndrome Therapeutics. And the foundation for Angelman Syndrome Therapeutics is send the money to my friend Paula Evans, and she'll give it to the researchers. Thank you so much again, Mike Colle. Bye.
Okay, really well done. You're a good public speaker. And in fact, Na'ama has, again, almost single-handedly helped raise this money to give to the foundation, FAST, the Foundation for Angelman Syndrome Therapeutics Canada. And I hope they have a website and a Facebook page. And really, we just can encourage everybody out there to follow Na'ama's lead and raise some money and have their own lemonade stands, right? And Na'ama will be there if you want advice. She's there to help. She'll give you consulting advice on how to do it, how to raise money. So thank you so much, Na'ama, Rue, the whole family, all the friends and relatives. And hopefully today, by introducing this bill, we're going to be going to the legislature soon. We're going to introduce this law, which will be in parallel with Angelman Syndrome law days across the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah, February 15th. So that's what I'll be doing in a short while in the Legislature of Ontario. So again, and I want to thank our renowned researcher, Dr. Edwin Weeber from the University of South Florida in Tampa. Thank you ever so much for all your great work, and hopefully we can get some research dollars for you so you can help these kids, Doctor.
Well, thank you, and then thank Na'ama, and thank everybody out there for doing this. It really makes us work all that much harder.
Thank you for taking time, Doctor, and we're there with you with Na'ama's lead here. Thank you, and I want to say again, thank you to the family and everyone, Na'ama and Rue and everyone for being here. And again, the next step is meeting the Premier, and then we're going to introduce the law. Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon.